All right, so we're here with Alvaro Beltran, who is known as, I would say, the greatest Mexican racquetball player of all time. Really excited to have you on the show, Alvaro. Thanks a lot for joining.
Hey, thank you, guys. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. So I wanted to talk about a little bit about the coronavirus that's hit recently, and it's obviously affected our ability to get on the courts and everything. What's that been like for you? What have you been up to since that stuff
Uh,
has started hitting?
Crazy times, man. Crazy times. Especially that I felt like the last 4 or 5 months I was getting my game back, not where it was as when I was young, but I mean I was putting on the time. I was practicing. I was taking care of my old injury. So it's a little sad for me, but like right now I have like a little.
Oh,
I made
wow.
my own little portable gym here, and just spending time with my daughter. So I'm trying to do stay active and just kill some time, man. Doing positive things, you know.
Yeah. What does life look like for you outside of racquetball?
Um, uh, it's very normal. I'm very blessed of the company that supports me. Um, they 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 gave me the opportunity to focus just my game and promoting racquetball the way I can, being just an athlete. Like I wish it was like this for all the athletes, you know. So I I just uh, get ready for tournaments, train, spend time with my family, and try to promote the gearbox, you know.
Yeah.
I don't have uh, another job, so that that has helped me stay play this long racquetball, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. How did you get started with racquetball?
It's an interesting story. My dad, he loves playing racquetball. He started late in late 20s. Friend invited him. He got married during that same time, and I was born. After work, he would just go and play with his buddies and come back home late. So my mother didn't believe him. He was doing that. So he started he started sending me with him to the courts. So I was like 2 or 3 years old, and I was in the courts. He would just give me a racket and throw me, like most of us started, like I guess like that, but he just like would give me a racket, send me to the different court, and I was there for 2 or 3 hours. So that's how I started playing. I was he was addicted to racquetball, so he played every day. So I was in the courts every day since I was 4 or 5 years old. I think I was like 6. But he tells a funny story that he would there, he didn't even look at me when he was playing. So like 4 or 5 years later, I'm just practicing by myself, I guess. And some guy, a friend of him, tells him, "Hey, have you seen the world champion, the world champion, the official world champion? He's in the next court." And he was like confused. He didn't know. So he goes to the other court, and it was me. He said I was like hitting the ball with one bounce and just trying to imitate the other guys, but he never tried to like help me out or anything. So that's when he started like, oh man, he has some talent. So he started helping me out with the fundamentals, you know. So that's how I started.
Alvarado, quick question for you, because I think one thing that everyone likes when they watch you is, you have a good crowd interaction. You're pretty, you're a fun match to watch. You kind of
Yes.
always have a little interaction with the crowd, maybe a little with the referee, and it's usually very entertaining. When did you first realize that you could interact with the crowd like that? Were you a junior, or did it take some time? Like, how did that come?
Yes. Yes. No, it took me actually a lot of time. Um, I was. Let me start with this. Like before me, there wasn't any Latin player I could look as a role model, or to look at somebody to do the sorry for my English, it's terrible, but I'm
Okay.
gonna try to I couldn't look at anybody and feel related, and so my confidence wasn't what I wish it would have back in those days. I always had so much fun playing, but sometimes it wasn't fun. I was sometimes scared. I didn't have the confidence. Imagine like coming on tour with guys like Jason, Sudsy, Cliff. I mean, with all those guys that the people I look as role models in Mexico, they saw them as like gods or celebrities. So it was tough, man. It was tough. It took me a few years to realize that I could compete and just play and beat those guys. But once I did, I it, it was like a process. But once I was there, I have so much fun, man. More than the first probably 7-8 years.
Okay.
I'm
Interesting.
curious, Alvaro. At what point did maybe you or other people start realizing that Alvaro Beltran was probably the best player from Latin America that anyone had ever seen? Do you remember what age you were? Like how old?
I think it was real quick because there wasn't anybody before me. I mean, a lot of guys tried, but they didn't do very well. And my first year on tour, I was 21. The first year I played full time. Before that, I played once or yeah, once or twice. One in Vegas, and sometimes a friend would sponsor me the U.S. Open in Memphis. But actually before that it wasn't. So I just went from playing 3 tournaments in my whole life to at 20 I played the whole season. And I think after the first season, because I was able to break into the top 8 in that first season. So uh, I wasn't. Nobody could compare me against anybody. So from that moment, from that first season, uh, people started talking like about that, about saying things like that. But um, but I'm very proud, not because of that, but because I feel like I open up and then change a little bit in the mentality of the new generation of racquetball players.
That's interesting. Did you like at that time, like after that first year on tour, did you feel like you needed to come live in the U.S. in any way? Did that feel like a barrier living in Mexico?
No, you know what? My my story in racquetball is being. I never wanted to play full time racquetball. It was never in my mind because I never saw. It wasn't like it is right now that you can see videos, you can see guys on face. Like I didn't know there was a pro tour. All the way to I was 18. So. I never asked that kind of questions in my mind. I went from playing ace, I guess, to I'm like, okay, I want to play open, and then from open, I'm like, oh, if I think I can beat this guys, I can make the national team. So I worked for that, and then once I was the best player in Mexico, I'm like, I started playing international events, and I'm like, I think I can hang out with this guys, and so my goals were like baby steps. It wasn't like right now a kid, a 6-year-old from Chihuahua can see a number 2 player and Alex Landa from Mexico. So it was very different than how I grew up than all the new generation.
And what was it like, Alvaro, competing for Mexico on the adult level?
Oh, that was my motivation to play racquetball. Once I I played. I made the team for Mexico. I was 16. My first time I made the men's team, and I had the privilege to play the World Championships in '96 in Phoenix. That was my first international tournament. So I got to see Sherman Greenfield. I think uh, doubles team was Todd O'Neill and Bill Sale, something like that. And so I got to see all those guys and all the people from different countries, and that's where I fell really in love with the sport, and 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 I wanted to do this for a living, you know. So it was '96 when when I when it all started for me, the passion for the sport, and just to play for Mexico and represent. I never played with junior worlds. Um, um, I never went. It wasn't established like it is right now that you have the 12 and under, 14 and under. I was like 10 playing 14-year-olds. So I think that helped me a lot in my mentality, because nowadays you talk to a kid that is 13, and you ask him if they can beat this 15-year-old, and they're like, no, he's 2 years older than me. And I didn't grow up like that. Like, it was just 18 and under, and everybody plays everyone. So it's very different.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that it was like that. On
In
the
Mexico.
world in Mexico. Okay.
In Mexico.
I see.
In the U.S. it was different. There was more players.
Was it
Junior
strange
players.
hanging out with all the American players and stuff, the English, native English speaking players? And did you get along with people right away, or did it take some time?
Yes, I mean, like, um, I got growing up in Tijuana. I I would I would talk to I met Rocky in when we were like 14, 15. We actually played one or two tournaments. So he was the one that introduced me to the pro world. Actually, they would have meetings, pro meetings, and I didn't like going to those. Rocky would just tell, like, he would like, hey, come on, you're part of the group. But yeah, Rocky, then Chris Crowder too. So there, and all the young guys, Mike Green. We had a group. They're all retired now, but except Rocky. But yeah, it took a couple of years, especially the guys like Cliff, Sudsy, Jason. They were, I mean, they were they had their own circle, and they try to make you feel that you didn't belong, not because of the of outside the court. They just wanted to get your like they knew that would help their game when I played against them. You know, it was all a mental thing at the beginning. They wanted to make you feel like you didn't belong in the pro tour. So I didn't see it as a bad thing. I saw it like it was a competitive thing, part of it. You know.
Yeah. Do you think that's what it sounds like? I mean, you came into the pro tour really just fresh, and you hadn't had much tournament experience or anything like that. And then you're all of a sudden with this like amazing group of amazing group of athletes who are some of the best players of all time, and they're well established.
Yeah.
What was it that allowed you to stick with it and become one of those guys?
What's the word in English? I'm just very. Uh, I had a dream. I was motivated. Uh, I was playing racquetball or going to finish in school and having a normal job, and I'm like, I'm going for this, man. I'm this is what I want to do. I love. I just it was a dream for me to just stay in racquetball and pursue this lifestyle. So I think it was that. I mean, I never seen myself doing anything else. even though I grew up like never thinking I could live off racquetball. You know? It's
So
been
Alvi,
an interesting story.
that is interesting. I like talking about your early years on tour, and you know, I'm curious, like, were there opponents that you played that really gave you a hard time? Like, you know, you played a lot of great players over the years. So who was some of your toughest competition early
I mean,
on?
I'm gonna talk about the guys that people don't talk about. Like you have the usual, the ones that we all know, but there's a few players that had like all the tools, but they didn't play enough to to um, to people for people like a lot of the new people don't know them. I think like Javier Moreno, he was an excellent player. Like he could have been easily in the be in the top 8. I think in this moment of the pro tour. Um, he he had that his problem back in the days was that confidence I'm talking about, and just the mental strength to play and challenge the those celebrities we used to see those players. So I think it was a little of a mental thing for him, but he had an excellent he had a very good. He was lefty. His how do you say it, his forehand, or
Mhm.
I don't know, he, his drive serves. He was very ferocious. He was he gave me he gave me very tough times playing against him. But I would see him play some other players, and he would just uh, play really bad. So there's Javier. Who else? Um,
You mentioned Mike Green
Mike
earlier.
Green.
I would put him in the category of maybe someone who didn't play enough tournaments to get the respect he deserved.
Yes.
When I won my first and only pro stop in Portland, I got a message from him, and he was like, you know, I kind of hate you right now, but congratulations, you know, because he actually never won a tournament or a tier 1 of that level, which is pretty crazy because he was quite the player. You know, there's a lot of
Yes.
players out there who are in the same. Shane Vanderson is another one.
Shane Vanderson, Mitch Williams.
Yep, there were a lot of amazing players that maybe never got that that one tournament win. But
Did Crowther win one? Did Chris win one?
No.
For sure, Charlie. Congrats, man. That's I mean that is so hard to accomplish, and especially if you talk to all those guys, Chris, Mike, Javier. Javier tells a funny story because he only made as great as he was, and I was in the top 4 for 10 years, and I would play against him and play tiebreakers even in my prime, and when he played on tour, he only made 1 semis and 1 quarters, and he would tell you like I made 2 quarters and a semis. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You made well. I had to make the quarters to make the semis, fucker. So he would say like 2 quarters. Imagine a guy like Javier. He made 1 semis in his whole life and 2 quarters and 1 quarter.
That's hilarious.
That's crazy, huh?
That is crazy. So yeah, maybe.
Huh?
Do you still keep in contact with Javier?
Oh yes, all the time. Thanks to all this apps. Like, yes.
And speaking of Javi, I knew his name would come up at some point in this conversation, but you played many years of doubles with Javi, and I know you guys were very successful. You know, and that I was kind of going to ask you, like, if there were any events that really, like, some of your favorite tournaments of all time, or your favorite memories or things like that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, well, there's well, there's many, but one of them is the World Championships in 2001, and actually we're gonna have that same tournament again in San Luis Potosí. That was the first time when I won the World Championships in singles. Um, I had the chance to play there against the finals against Rocky. I beat Kane in the quarters, and actually that was the tournament that changed my life. After that, I decided to play full time the pro tour, and before that, I didn't know what I was in this situation when I didn't want to play racquetball anymore as halftime and school halftime because I wasn't doing any of them good, and I wanted to do something good. So I'm like, this is my last try. If I do well and I get some kind of sponsorship, I'll play full time, and that's what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna quit school. So, man, I trained with for 3 months with Tim Doyle. Actually, Coach Winterton was my coach. He was the coach of Mexico back in the days, and he set that he set that up for me to train with Tim Doyle. He was in San Diego, so I would meet him 3 times a week, and he's the one that changed my mentality and my what I knew about racquetball. Yeah, he I'm very I feel very, how do you say it, like um he changed my life, Tim, because I learned so much about from him. I actually asked him before 3 months before I was no like a week before the San Luis tournament. Hey, what do you think? What are my chances? It's like uh, I think you can beat everyone except Kane. I'm like, fuck you. Like in my mind, I I felt so. He Doyle was like number 4 or 5. He retired from the tour and then he came back and he made in the first year in the top 5. So I was playing against him, and I'm like, and I got to a point where I knew I could beat him in practice, but I didn't show him I could beat him. I didn't wanna I didn't wanna affect his because he was playing on tour in those days. So I'm like, I think I can. Uh, in my mind, I'm like, I think I can get him. I know I can get you, but I didn't say anything. So I ended up winning the worlds. I got a sponsor there, and that's what it changed my life, man. That was
Sounds
2021.
That sounds like Tim maybe was using a little psychology
Maybe,
for
yeah,
you. It
maybe,
sounded like
yeah,
that was some good motivation for you.
yeah. And before that, I didn't know how to train. I didn't know the mental aspect. I never had somebody like being like a kind of like a sergeant, or I never had like a coach for racquetball for me. So he definitely changed my life.
I'm curious about, you just mentioned like the mental aspect. I've been watching you for a while, obviously, and it's definitely one thing I think everyone will notice is just, you look like you're relaxed out there, and not everybody's like that. I'd say most people are not like that, and it's hard for someone like me to be able to understand how someone can be relaxed. What is your mental game like, or what
Mhm.
has it? I'm sure it's evolved over the years too, but
Yes. Um, it's you try to find um, whatever works. I think every person is different. Some people like to feel like to excel, to be to play good. Some people like to be very hype. Some people like to be pissed. Like Sutsi likes to. He always talks about being mean in the court, and playing aggressive. Uh, I think it's a personality thing. It's about learning about what makes you happy. Like every person is different. I can say I like to have fun. I don't. I've seen my matches when I'm having fun, when everything is going good. I play my best. So once I get mad, I just like I blow matches away. So my best matches have been when I know before things are gonna go wrong, but I'm still like I'm gonna still have fun and enjoy the game and forget about the last play. Other players they just like to be mad, man. They just like to be on the other guy's face. So I think like if I, as a tip to everyone, you just gotta learn about yourself and what makes you excel. Like just be in peace, or I mean, I hate losing, and not because I'm having fun. That doesn't mean I'm not trying to win. I mean, I hate lose. I always tell people like, if I win a tournament, I forget about it hour later. And when I lose in a match, until the next tournament or the next time I play, I stop thinking about the loss, and and that's what I try to do. I just try to have fun and even though there's a lot of things in, in play, money, points, whatever, I still I'm still doing what I love, man, and just play, you know.
You know, Tim Prigo is one of those players who likes to get really angry before a match.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Like some people like that. I don't criticize or say it's the wrong way. I think, but some people will do that, and that's not what will make them play better. You know, they're doing the wrong thing. So it's a learning because I've done everything. I try to play like like I'm not gonna I don't know if I'm not gonna eat the next day if I lose. Like I play like that and it didn't work for me. Or like I tried everything. And I found out that when I'm having fun, that's when I play my best. And and it has to do with how you practice. Like you gotta see when you're practicing and you're playing good. Like, hey, what am I doing? What's my state of mind right now? And you get it from practice too. Like finding out about yourself. Like, oh, right now I'm playing so good. I'm focused. What's your state of mind? What are your feelings right there? And from there you take it to the tournament mode. I hear a lot of people saying like, "Oh, I played so bad in the tournament. I'm nervous." They're trying different things. They're not doing the things they do normally in practice. Like, how come I'm playing so bad in a tournament and I play really good in practice? Well, because you're taking a different approach to your tournament instead of keeping up the same things you practice. You know.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
having watched you, I've noticed a lot of just different like funny moments with you on the court. Seems
Mhm.
like you kind of revel in just having that fun on the court and sort of like making the crowd laugh, which I think is great, and the fans seem to love it. Do you remember like what is the funniest moment you can think of from the most funny moment you can remember happening on the court with you?
There's many.
Yeah.
One of them has. We were young, first year on tour. I was playing open and pros. I remember, and I had to play Javier Moreno in the open. I don't know if I can tell this story because it's a little embarrassing. But
Sorry, cut it
we
out.
were playing a. We were playing a. We can edit this maybe. we'll we'll see. We're playing
This will
the
be the
open. We
trailer.
were in a tiebreaker, and then I don't know why Javi has a setup, and I fart. I farted. and he and I guess it smelled bad. So he like goes like, what? He misses the shot. Like we were 9-9 and misses the shot because he smelled bad. So he wanted a avoidable. He wanted an avoidable call on the because I farted in the court. So we're discussing and he's telling the ref and we have like everyone on top in the court and I'm so embarrassed about the situation. He's like, give me the call. But I can't give you the call. I didn't do anything. I wasn't in your way or anything. So we're like discussing with everyone. He's like, I'm gonna go to the tournament director and become bigger. So yeah, that was a funny story, but very embarrassing for me. So I had to give him the call because he was ready to like make it like as big as he could. You know?
Oh man, you're too nice. I can't believe you gave him the call.
Yeah, but man, he was like ready to go on the club. What do you call the microphone and
Well,
tell everyone.
only if he would have known that 20 years later you'd reveal it all.
Yeah. No. Javi has tell everyone that story. So like half the racquetball knows, the world knows. So I don't know, man. There's so many different stories. And
Have you found that, you've had better crowds at different places? Like, is there a city that you just can't wait to play to because the crowd's going to be real responsive?
Where? Well, I think it's more of the city thing. Not for me. It's some places are more interactive. I guess it's has to do with the installations and the courts where we can interact more with people. But what are one of the? I mean, tough man. 20 years. I I start forgetting things, but the usual when we used to play New York, um, Boston too. Those two crowds. San Diego was crazy when I, I think Charlie had an opportunity to play there. Did you, Charlie?
Yeah.
In National City.
Yeah, National City. That was always a crazy tournament.
Yeah,
it was a very small club and a lot of people and a lot of beer.
A lot of beer.
And
so that was a crazy crowd to play for, man.
Let me ask you a question about at the US Open. Do you feel as a player that it's a good atmosphere as far as where the crowd's sitting? Do you wish the crowd was closer in on you?
Of course. I wish it was closer. I wish they sell beer there, like in other events, popcorn. I mean, there's a series of things that I would probably do different. But yes, definitely. I mean, we haven't explored that that part of the game. Just making it a show. Even we tried the microphones back in the days when we played in Memphis. We played with a microphone and that I think really made it fun for the fans. Like you could hear the ball, and all the talking between the two players. I think we're missing that right now on tour.
Is there anything else that, while we're on that subject, just a few thoughts of maybe some things that we need to do in the racquetball world professionally or internationally that will really help the game?
Yeah, well, one is we need to start growing the game here in the States. I feel like now the young players it's funny, the young players in the States probably feel like me when I started playing in Mexico. Now the young players from Mexico, they're dominating and they have all this players to look up as role models for Mexico.
Hey, come
And
on. The USA kids have plenty of players to look up to,
no,
Alvaro.
yeah, you're right. But, no, I don't mean only that. I mean, just like all the tournaments we have in Mexico, we have what's called the Junior Olympics, National Olympics. So they have to be, they're ready the whole year. They're competing against other states. They have that. They have the national championships. Then they have tournaments to represent for Pan Am tournaments. Like they have tournaments all year, so they stay active. And I think in the states we're missing that. Just 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 having kids play all year and competing and trying to make them better. But like there's a bunch of good players like yourself, Rocky. What else? Now Manila is playing pretty good too. So
That's
yeah.
cool. I appreciate that. I didn't really realize how active the juniors were in Mexico. And
Yes.
Those juniors, I'm sure, look up to you and look up to players like Landa and De La Rosa and Paola. Would you kind of give us some insight into how well known is someone like Paola outside of the racquetball world? Like, and also, is every junior player, do they know who you and Daniel are, or how does that kind of work out in
Yeah.
regular life in
Well,
Mexico?
well, Paola is in a different category. She's well known in Mexico. She has invested a lot in of her time in going to TV shows, and she has done really well on that aspect. Um, uh, Guys like Daniel, myself, Landa, everyone knows who we are in the racquetball world, in the racquetball world. But yeah, Paola it has a status. Everyone knows her, the whole country. So yeah, it's nice for her.
so you don't ever just go to restaurants or in the airport sometime and people come up to you like, it's Alvaro Beltran.
Well, in Tijuana, I do in Tijuana, and sometimes at the airport. But it has to do with people that play racquetball. Like if you ever play racquetball, yes, obviously the people know me, but or has to do with athletes. But with Paola, it's like people that doesn't play any sports know who she is. So they're like we're probably people know her. If you play some kind of sport, they probably can they have heard our names, but not like Paola, that every, like you take a taxi and they'll ask you, what are you doing, what are you here for, a racquetball tournament, oh, like Paola. So that's a, yeah, so it's a little different. They don't say like Daniel.
Why do you think that is? Like, can you give us any insight as to why Paola, how she did so well in the Mexican just social scene?
Like I said, she invested a lot in time in talking to press and just going to all those like for us boring. I mean, she invested a lot of time on that, and I think it is what that's. I mean, it's boring and for most of the guys, but I think we should do it for the sport. Like just to let everyone know about our sport and just to have more people. But yeah, she did all that and it helps that uh, all that people think that she's cute and that probably help her that too. She looks good in camera.
She's, and she was also extremely dominant on the women's tour, just she won 90% of the tournaments, and that's, that
Yeah,
that
well, that helps too.
Yeah, it's definitely been interesting. I started, my junior career in like 1996 or so. I was young, and I got to come up as a junior, and for many years USA was always winning the juniors and probably the adults as well. And then around when I was 16 or 17, there was kind of like a switch when Mexico started winning the juniors. I remember when they won for the first time in 2001, and but that was the first time we had ever lost. So I was part of that.
You were part of that.
I was on the team for 3 years, and we won each time, and then that fourth year we lost, and then the fifth year we lost also. So it was like. Yeah, I was on those teams, so I got to sort of see the transition.
That's a transition.
Yeah, and it's changed quite a bit. That's why I was curious about your perspective from when you were a junior and things like that. But
yes, yeah, very different, man. Very different.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't that many actually junior players from Mexico. Well,
Mm-hmm.
at least good.
I would imagine that you have a lot to do with that, Alvaro. So thanks a lot. No, but
Yeah.
Now seeing where it is, do you take any particular interest in the junior racquetball there? Obviously, players will look up to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, yeah. I want to. My whole life, I'm going to be part of racquetball. So, right now, obviously, I'm at the end of my my career as a player, and I want to see where I can fit and where I can feel happy doing and motivated. But I definitely want to. I don't know if only for Mexico, maybe um, for the whole racquetball world. I want to see where I fit, and now I'm in once when I was 18, not knowing if I was gonna play professional racquetball or just go to stick with school. Now I'm in that zone again, like where I wanna be, and but definitely is gonna be involved with racquetball. I don't know if it's gonna be a macro or just in Mexico. I don't know, but yeah, for sure involved in the sport.
It's great to hear, man. That's exciting to hear. A lot of lucky people out there.
Yeah, maybe in the professional tour, man. I would like to help and make a difference there. I wanna like the tops. I've seen a lot of great players stop playing full time, and maybe if I can help there and help 32 guys make a good living out of racquetball and change the sport, that would be like one of a very exciting thing for me in my life to help in there too.
That's awesome. I love it. You mentioned being at or near the end of your career. How much time do you think you have left, and how do you want it to end?
I'm gonna first of all, I want to lose a few pounds. I don't want to. I don't want the people remember as a fat man. Like that's what it sucks. Like when I was in my 20s, I was playing like 175, 180, and I was very fast. But there were not that many cameras, and a lot of live racquetball. I feel like now they're showing my like the Michael Jordan playing for the Washington Wizards thing. so I definitely I wanna be in real good shape. I wanna be in a big some good racquetball, and that's what I'm gonna. It's funny. I don't want to retire as a really bad player. I want to retire when I'm playing against like my best racquetball, and so people remember how that I wasn't that bad of a player and that slow either.
Have you noticed that it looks like Kane's gotten into even better shape this season? Have you noticed that?
Yes, he had a few seasons where he was a little overweight and like he could play with that because he was younger, and now he's taking care of his body more, and so yeah, I've noticed that he's in pretty good shape every time he plays a tournament nowadays. But I mean, it's part of age and part. I don't know if part of maturing or, but it's definitely part of just he wanted to play good racquetball.
Now, Alvi, despite you being towards the end of your career, you went to the Pan American Games this year. I did as well, and that was my first. I don't know how many you've been to. Probably at least four, five. That
and I missed one. And I missed one because we didn't have in Brazil they didn't have the racquetball, but it would have been six.
So you made the finals there. You got the silver medal at the Pan Am Games, which is pretty incredible. It was a very interesting finals match because of what happened. If you didn't know, Alvaro dove into the back wall and the door broke, and all the glass came down on top of you. This was in the second game. I think you won the first.
Yes.
And it was in the second game, and this happened, and I imagine it was probably pretty hard to recover from that. It looks like
it was crazy. It was crazy. It was still very emotional for me because I wanted it so bad, that gold medal. Actually, that's the reason why I think I didn't win the gold medal because I wanted it so bad. It was a play, kind of like a long rally, where I had the chance to not go for that ball that I normally don't go anymore in when I play the pro tour. I give away a lot of points because I don't follow the long rallies anymore because I save myself for the next point. But I was so prepared and ready to battle and to fight every point, and I wanted to make a point against Montoya. I wanted to tell him, even though I knew I wasn't gonna win that point, I wanted to tell him like, hey, I came ready. I came ready to fight every point, and it was more of uh, a mental battle for me against him. So I went for that ball hard and badly, and I broke the door. But people ask me like, would have you like now you know the result? Would have you have done that before? That's how that's and I say yes because that's the way I played the whole tournament. That's how it got me to the finals. I wasn't saving myself like I normally do nowadays. Like I play hard 4 or 5 points and then save my energy. I just went full 100% every point, you know. So yeah, it sucked. Um, I wanted that gold medal so bad, man.
Yeah, it was definitely a crazy moment in the racquetball world for sure. It was a very cool experience for me since it was my first one. What did you think about Lima and the whole tournament itself?
I've been to since I've been to others. There were things that I didn't like. The traffic, one thing, like being an hour, like being hour to get to the club or to the hotel, that was pretty bad. But the installations, the village, it was nice. I like that. But yeah, that was one of the things, the, the traffic, that it took us like hour and a half to get to the courts, and obviously the courts they were not built for uh, strong or for a racquetball tournament, for this type of racquetball tournament.
Mm-hmm.
If you
So,
can maybe tell us a little bit about, what were the dynamics like for the team at that point? Was there any sort of, were you guys at all thinking about Landa not being there and him expressing his disappointment with that? Was that something
yeah,
in your guys' head?
yeah, that was crazy too. We had uh, actually we had a couple of meetings talking about that, and what, what was going through, uh, what happened through that process. I mean, I was one of one of the guys that were against that. I didn't believe Landa had to get out of the be out of the team. I, I always was very honest to all the other guys. I felt like Landa and me, since we made the finals in nationals, and that's the toughest thing to do in right now in Mexico, to make the team in singles. I think they should have respect that. And in doubles, anybody can like, if you put any two guys, it would make a good team. So I always told like Javier Mart and Montoya that, you know what, well, Montoya is the world champion. Landa is has the highest rank on tour right now. Me, I played four, four Pan Am games before. I play singles and doubles. I can play anything. So I think Javi Mar, you have to go. I even I told the president of the federation, but they approached it a different way. It was he relied on our last event, that was Cali tournament, Pan Am Games, that and where Alex had the worst result of us four. So I mean, I felt bad because Alex is one of my close friends on tour, and
It looks like he's on a bit of a revenge tour now as he made the U.S. national team, and he looks like he's going to try to
yeah,
beat Mexico.
yes, he is, and we're gonna be waiting. Yeah, I mean, uh, it's uh, it's fun. It's
It is good.
definitely it's fun. It's different. It's interesting. It's gonna be they're gonna it's gonna be we're gonna have something to
We're
talk
gonna,
about,
yeah, we're gonna
definitely
tune in.
in August. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's especially I mean, the tournament is gonna be in Mexico, in San Luis Potosi.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah. I mean, it's gonna be fun. Definitely fun.
I think that was probably a pretty difficult decision. If you look at what ended up happening, was there are four of you that made the team, the doubles team, and then you and Alex in singles. But after the Pan American Championships in Colombia, it, Mexico was only allowed to take 3 males
Hmm.
to the Pan Am Games. So, that's just a very tough decision on who it's going to be, because I can see why they would want to keep the doubles team together, for example, because who knows, like if Javier Mar is out and you bring Alex in, do you play doubles, or who
I,
plays the?
I I won the Pan Am tournament a year before with Montoya.
Ah,
I don't know if you play that, but in Temuco, Chile, I won that tournament with Montoya. So it wasn't that. I mean, to me, it was a wrong decision. But it was it wasn't wrong, because I know where he why he decided, because he had to. I mean, I gave him a call and asked him why you decided to have Landa out, and he told me he's the one that had the worst result. So we have less points, and of that result, they only gave it 3 spots. So I he felt bad taking one of the other guys that had nothing to do with losing a spot, you know. So like I won bronze, and I think the doubles team won bronze as well, and that's how he decided. I didn't think it was the right decision, but I mean it worked for him, but obviously it didn't work for Alex, and I think it was a little injustice for him, because I mean for for 10 years that was the first time he won his the the national singles title, and that was a very bad way to uh, to have him as the result, what not being able to represent Mexico for the biggest tournament we have in
Yeah.
racquetball, you know.
I was gonna say it's the Pan Am Games. It's
It's the biggest event in racquetball. I mean,
Right.
to me, it's bigger than the U.S. Open or any other tournament. In my humble opinion, I mean, it's the biggest event we have.
yeah, definitely you know, a tough decision, and we felt bad for Alex, that's for sure.
Yes.
It's yeah.
It was bad, and it was really bad that people thought I took his place. I heard a lot of people saying that, because since when you take Alex out, they moved myself to the number 1 spot, so it looked like I was taking his place, right? But actually, it was they moved Montoya to play the number 2 spot. So what I was telling, I never talked, I never made it public, but I would tell people like the one that took his place was Montoya, because he didn't qualify in singles, he qualified in doubles, and he's the one that took Landa's place. I mean, it wasn't me, and I heard even like there was some blogs in the the ones we have in racquetball talking about that. I took his place, but I didn't. I qualified in singles, and I won my spot fair and square, and obviously Landa did too, and he should have stayed there. But if somebody took his spot, it was Montoya, because he didn't qualify. He lost in the round of 32s or 16s, and at the end, it's crazy how life works. He ended up winning the gold medal.
Yeah.
Is that luck or what? I end up breaking a door.
Well, we appreciate you talking about that. I know it's maybe a controversial subject, but it's definitely interesting to hear your side of it. So we appreciate that, and we appreciate you being on here with us too, man.
Yeah, thanks for giving us your time.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you guys.
We could sit here and talk to you all day long, but maybe we'll just do a few more episodes or something.
We'll do more. Hopefully, it's this crazy pandemic.
Yeah, pandemic.
Yeah, ends soon. What do you guys think? 2 more weeks? 3 more weeks?
Who knows, man? Who knows?
At least have the NBA games again, right?
Yeah, with no fans. We'll see. I think we should all bring them to all the ones that are safe, they should go to an island, and the losing teams get kicked off the island.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll do that.
Yeah.
These are crazy times, man. But thank you for having me.
Anyone you want to shout out? Any sponsors or anybody?
Oh no, right here. You guys seen it for an hour.
Yeah. Cool, man.
Well, we'll let you get back to your footwork drills and your workouts.
Yeah.
All right.